Many businesses recycle leads without defining what must happen before those leads can return to the active pipeline. The case went quiet. The timing was wrong. The opportunity was not ready. So the business moves it aside and plans to revisit it later. That part makes sense. The problem begins when the lead returns. A reply appears, a new conversation starts, a meeting is booked, and the case is immediately treated as active again. But renewed contact is not the same as qualified re-entry. A recycled lead should not return to the active pipeline simply because communication resumed. It should return only when specific conditions show that the opportunity now deserves active attention. Without those conditions, lead recycling becomes a revolving door. Old cases leave, old cases return. The pipeline fills again, but the quality underneath does not improve. The business sees movement, but not necessarily progress. This is why clear re-entry rules matter. They define what evidence must exist before a recycled lead can become active again. The problem may need to become more urgent. Timing may need to become more realistic. A decision process may need to become clearer. A next step may need to be confirmed. Until something meaningful changes, the lead may deserve follow-up, but not active pipeline status. A stronger system does not confuse recontact with re-entry. It protects the pipeline by requiring recycled leads to earn their place again.
Clear re-entry rules remove subjectivity from this decision. Without them, different people can interpret the same returning lead in completely different ways. One person may see a positive reply and reopen the opportunity immediately. Another may wait for a scheduled meeting. Another may require a confirmed need, a realistic timeline, or access to the decision process. When those standards are inconsistent, the pipeline becomes inconsistent too. Re-entry starts depending on personal optimism instead of shared evidence. That makes reporting weaker. It makes prioritization less reliable. And it becomes difficult to understand whether recycled leads are actually improving or simply moving between categories. A stronger system defines what must be true before the status changes. There should be a meaningful reason for the return. There should be evidence that the previous barrier has changed. There should be a credible next action. And the opportunity should enter at the stage supported by current information, not the stage it reached during the previous cycle. These rules do not need to be complicated. They need to be clear enough that different people would reach the same conclusion when reviewing the same case. That consistency matters, because lead recycling only becomes useful when re-entry means something. If every response can reopen an opportunity, the active pipeline stops representing real buying potential. It starts representing communication activity instead.
Re-entry rules also protect the business from repeating the same failed cycle. A recycled lead may return with renewed interest, but the original weakness may still be present. The timing may still be uncertain. The decision process may still be unclear. The urgency may still be too low to support real movement. If the business reopens the case without checking those conditions, the opportunity can repeat the same pattern as before. It becomes active, follow-up increases, attention returns, but progress remains weak. This creates unnecessary effort and gives the pipeline a false sense of recovery. A stronger system does not only ask whether the lead has returned, it asks whether the reason for the previous failure has actually changed. If timing was the problem, is timing now more concrete? If priority was weak, has priority increased? If internal alignment was missing, is the decision process now stronger? If no next step existed, is there now a credible action that moves the opportunity forward? These questions turn recycling into a controlled process. The lead is not rejected forever, but it is also not rewarded with active status simply for becoming visible again. Re-entry should represent a meaningful change in conditions. Otherwise, the business is not creating a new opportunity. It is only reopening the old uncertainty. Clear re-entry rules also create a necessary distinction between being monitored and being active.
A recycled lead can still deserve attention without deserving a place in the active pipeline. The business may continue to track changes, send relevant follow-up, or wait for a better moment. But that does not mean the opportunity should already influence current priorities, pipeline value, or forecasting. This distinction protects clarity, because when monitored leads are treated as active opportunities, the pipeline begins carrying cases that are not yet ready to support real movement. The numbers increase, the workload increases, but confidence should not. A stronger system keeps recycled leads in the correct state until the required evidence appears. That evidence may be a confirmed timeline, a stronger business need, a new decision maker, a realistic budget, or a specific next step with clear commitment. Once those conditions exist, the lead can return to active qualification. Until then, it should remain visible but separate. This is not neglect, it is disciplined waiting. The business keeps the relationship, preserves the context, and remains ready to respond. But it does not allow potential future movement to distort present pipeline reality. That is what clear reentry rules achieve. They create a controlled path from inactive to monitored to genuinely active again.
A practical re-entry rule should answer 3 questions. What changed? What evidence confirms that change? And what action now justifies active pipeline status? These questions prevent vague signals from becoming premature opportunities. A lead saying, "Let us speak again," may justify a conversation. It does not automatically justify a reopened deal. A lead downloading new material may show renewed interest. It does not automatically show new urgency. Even a booked meeting may only represent exploration, not real readiness. The system should therefore define which signals create follow-up and which signals create re-entry. That distinction is important. Follow-up can remain broad. Active pipeline status should remain selective. Once the required conditions are met, the opportunity should also receive a new qualification date, a current next step, and a stage based on present evidence. This creates accountability. Anyone reviewing the case can understand why it returned, what changed, and what must happen next. Without that structure, recycled leads become difficult to evaluate. They carry old information, new activity, and unclear confidence all at the same time. A stronger system removes that ambiguity. It allows the business to preserve every useful relationship without allowing every renewed interaction to become an active opportunity. That is how lead recycling supports pipeline quality, instead of quietly weakening it.
Clear re-entry rules also make the system easier to improve over time. The business can review which recycled leads returned, what conditions triggered re-entry, and whether those cases actually produced meaningful progress. That creates useful feedback. If many leads re-enter but quickly become inactive again, the rules may be too weak. If strong returning opportunities remain outside the active pipeline, the rules may be too restrictive. The system can then adjust based on evidence, not intuition. This is important because lead recycling should not become a hidden storage process. Its purpose is not simply to keep old opportunities available. Its purpose is to preserve future potential without weakening present clarity. A recycled lead should remain outside the active pipeline until something real changes. Then, when the required evidence appears, the business should know exactly how the case returns, where it belongs, and what must happen next. That creates a cleaner pipeline, more consistent decisions, and better use of attention. Because strong lead recycling is not defined by how many old leads come back. It is defined by how accurately the system decides which returning leads deserve to become active again.
That is why lead recycling needs more than good intentions. It needs clear rules for when a lead can return, what evidence must support that return, and where the opportunity should re-enter the pipeline. Without those rules, old uncertainty keeps coming back under a new active status. With them, the business can preserve future potential without weakening present clarity. A recycled lead should never return because contact resumed. It should return because the conditions for real movement have changed enough to deserve active attention again.